Good evening, YouTube. It's Sunday evening. Been out here in the garage messing around. Haven't made a video in a while. Had some guys send me messages asking questions about my socket drawer and my toolbox tour. I did kind of go through that rather quickly. Didn't get into very much depth in why I have what I have as far as my socket assortment goes and my drive tools. And one of the questions was, why do I have so much 12-point stuff? Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you another in-depth tour of the top drawer, or actually my socket drawer of the toolbox, and give a little explanation why I have what I have. And a couple of rails of these sockets have interesting history behind them. So we'll go ahead and we'll start over here on the SAE side. This is the SAE side. That is the metric side. I'm a little weak on the metric side, but what I worked on in the marine industry was mostly American made engines, with the exception of the MTU and some Volvo Penta stuff and a few Mitsubishis. So the whole metric deal wasn't a big issue, or wasn't a very big necessity for me. So to answer the question about a lot of the 12-point stuff, when you get inside of these bigger diesel engines, you find a lot of 12-point fasteners. The head bolts are 12-point. A lot of the rod bolts are 12-point. Some of the main caps are 12-point. Rocker shaft bolts are 12-point. Rocker boxes. The list goes on. So we have a lot of 12-point fasteners in the heavier diesel stuff. So we'll go ahead and explain what I have here. The back rail of sockets is Snap-on. They are a hodgepodge of a deal there. I actually ditched the 1 9/16 socket. That thing was useless and was just taking up room. But the last two down here, the 7/16 and the 1/2 inch, or the 3/8 and the 7/16 actually, is 6-point, and the 1/2 inch, 2 1/4 is 12-point. Then the 1 5/16 up to the 1 1/2 is 6-point. The chrome set of sockets, this side of them, are Snap-on. The 1 1/2, inch and a half, down to 3/8. The 6-point set is the same deal. 3/8 to 1 1/2, with the exception, they're Snap-on with the exception of one socket. I believe it's the 1 3/16 here. Just so happened. No, that's an older Snap-on socket. I believe it's the 1 3/16 here. I may be wrong. There it is. It's a Mike Tool socket. I lost the Snap-on one. Needed it. Mike guy happened to be there today. I needed it, and there you have it. The shallow 6-point impact sockets, Snap-on, 3/8, the 1 1/2. This particular set of sockets here is what I started with when I started turning wrenches 20 plus years ago. And this is a Dukes mixture of everything. This set actually started out as a Craftsman set. And this set is actually got history. This tells a history lesson of the toolbox. We'll get down to here. I believe this is the 9/16 or the 5/8. The 5/8. Got used a lot. It got busted and broke a lot. And it's a Williams. Those four are Craftsman. This one was lost. That's a Thorson. 12 point with the chrome actually peeling off of it. Good socket, still works just fine. It's a Thorson. You get into the history of this rail sockets when you start pulling out sockets like this. This is another Williams. The 15/16 is an old school Craftsman. Needs warranted. The chrome's peeling off of it. But it's still a good socket. And as you can see that yes, it's been on the impact wrench. I remember buying this socket new off the truck when the 15/16 give up. This is a newer style 1-inch snap-on. So yes, that rail of sockets there has quite a long history. And this set of sockets here behind it is the 12 point. And I've just recently added these right before I retired. And these are gray pneumatic. And I actually happen to like these sockets really well because they have the size stamped in them really well. And they're actually a thinner wall socket for an impact socket. So if you're new getting into the industry, you might want to take a look at Gray Pneumatic. I've never had to warranty anything from Gray Pneumatic, so I don't know exactly how the warranty works. But I believe a fella could probably get by with the Gray Pneumatics, considering the OD of the chrome socket is no bigger than the OD of the impact socket. So definitely worth taking a look at. I like the Gray Pneumatics. I've used them some here in the shop on the pull tractor. I do keep my tools cleaned up, by the way. I wipe them down with ether and rags and keep them looking nice. I try to keep them looking new looking. Of course, you know, just like this stuff here, it's got anti-seize on it. You can't hardly get it off. This is a 6-point set, 1.5 3/8 chrome. And the whole deal with the chrome sockets is some of these fasteners you get into in these engines are recessed. Just to give you an example, I'm sure some guys is going to watch this video and know that the Jacobs brake bolts on the top of an N14 is a 7/16 12 point head, and they are actually recessed in a hole. That's the whole purpose of having two sets, a chrome set and an impact set, is some of those fasteners are recessed. We'll get down here into the 3/8 drive stuff. This stuff was used a lot. This is snap-on to 1-inch, 5/16 to 1-inch, or 1/4 to 1-inch. I'm not sure. Maybe 5/16. That's 1/4 to 1-inch. Standard snap-on socket set. The 6-point medium and the 12-point medium snap-on. I think they're quarter. Yeah, they're quarter to 7/8. Not sure exactly why they didn't make those. I would have liked to have seen these medium length sockets at least go to 15/16. Not sure exactly why they didn't go ahead and take that set on up to 1 inch like they did their shallows and their deeps. But then we got the 12-point set snap on to 1 inch. I think they're this might be Williams, I ain't sure. Yeah, these are the Williams. Same socket as a snap-on. Made in USA. It's actually quarter 12-point to 1 inch. This is Williams. I think it's 5/16 to 1 inch. Impact. Williams 12-point. Impact 5/16. These are broached a little bit different. What you're going to find in this Williams stuff here is going to be along the lines of the Taiwan Blue Point. Williams is the industrial section of snap-on, and I would say these came from the same factory as the Blue Point, Taiwan Blue Points. Snap-on, shallow 6-point, snap-on, shallow 12-point up to 1 inch. The impact sockets, shallow 6-point, 5/16 to 1 inch. We'll go ahead and continue with the Wobble City here. Spark plug socket, snap-on, locking extension, snap-on, 3/4 to, I believe, 5/16 or 1/4 inch, 5/16 deep. U-joint socket, wobble socket, 1 inch to 5/16 in the shallow 6-point, 1 inch to 5/16 in the 12-point. I got the 1 inch here somewhere. I've lost it. I may have to buy one. I'm not sure, but I know where the 5/16's at. Uncle's farm tractor down the road having some issues with it, so I got a tool sack put together, and it's in the pickup truck, so some of these sockets are missing. Snap-on, 1/4 inch wobbles, 9/16 down to little tiny fella. It skips some of those little oddball 30-second sizes. That's 3/16. It skips some of those little 9/32 and 11/32 sizes, unlike the regular set of sockets here. Yeah, I think you can buy the skips individually, but I've never found a need for them. Standard 6-point quarter drive, snap-on, 12-point quarter drive. These are Proto, actually. My snap-ons is laying here in the tool cart behind me. These are Protos, 12-point up to 9/16. The deep snap-on, 6 points up to 9/16. Use the shit out of these things. Mediums up to 9/16, snappy, 12-point. Get into jake brake, you get into some of the jake brake stuff. When I was working on trucks, you get into a lot of the smaller 12-point fasteners. And the 6-point mediums is in the tool sack. Here's the metrics. My metric wobblers is in the tool sack. These are just 6-point 15 millimeter down to 5.5, I believe. 6-point nose, 6-point in the mediums, 6 points in the shallows. I think they go to 15 millimeter also. Yes, that's 15. Then we'll start back here. You can see the 6-point sockets there in front of the larger 6-point sockets there. They've had a lot more use than what the larger stuff is, because you don't get into the larger metric stuff. Those were bought on a promo deal by the I think it's the 10 to 24 millimeter, and then you get the big sockets for half off or something like that. That was one of those promo deals. Same thing with the chromes here. They go from, I think, 10 millimeter to 36 or 9 millimeter to 36. The 6-point chromes is the same thing in the deep. There's the 6-point chrome shallows. This is actually, this socket set here, this 12-point socket set actually has a story along the lines of that socket. I'm not going to pull these sockets out, but some of these are different. They're Snap-on, some of them's Craftsman. But originally that set started off as Craftsman. Like the bigger ones here, the 34 millimeter, that one's actually never been used. I remember busting that socket and pitching it. I don't go to Sears and replace my tools. I pitch them. I replace them with something worth replacing them with, because Sears has actually just went to shit. 24 to 10 millimeter shallow 12-point impacts. Those have seen a lot of use. This set of sockets here are actually Caterpillars. They're nothing more than rebranded Snap-ons. You can see that the cat logo on them. Yeah, they're cat. I got some 3/4 drive Caterpillar sockets too. And come from the local cat dealer. To get them warrantied out, you call your parts guy up, give him a part number, and he orders you a socket, and you send him the old one. You give him the old one, walk into the parts counter, you throw him your broke one, he throws you a new one, and away you go. The weirdo sockets, the 20s, I got them over on the bench. This 22 12-point is actually the same thing as a 7/8 12-point. It's the equivalent. It's over on the bench. These two's over on the bench. I tend to grab the black sockets before I do the chromes anymore. This is a chrome 6-point deep Snap-on set. Goes to 26 millimeter. This socket set has some history behind it too. You know, I've been in this industry long enough to, some of these tool manufacturers go through different phases. It's like the 22 millimeter. It was one of the originals. 24. Let's see, the 22. That's the weirdo. That's one of the old ones. That's 23. That's a 20. They go down to 8 millimeter, and the 9 millimeter, it actually is romped and stomped. I'm gonna have to track the Snap-on guy and get that one swapped out, because it's wallowed out. Same thing with the 12 points and the 6-point shallows and the 6-point impacts. The one that's missing are over there on the bench or in the tool cart behind me, one of the two. Then I'd like to have, I've been looking at the Gray Pneumatic wobble impact sockets. This is the little American Standard Snap-on set. It goes from 3/4 down to 5/16 in 3/8 drive, and then This is the bigger snap-on set. It goes to 1 5/16 down to half in 1/2 inch drive. But a lot of people ask, well, what's the deal with the Williams sockets? Why do I have Williams sockets? Well, there's a local place. It's a Williams dealer here, ISSI in Charleston, and there's my little 12-point snap-on set of 1/4 inch drive sockets. I was going to show you something here. The Williams is on the right and the Snappy's on the left. They're broached exactly the same, metallurgically the same. They're exactly the same socket. When they come off the same machinery, the same plant, this socket probably went right on the line. This socket probably went left on the line to get the writing rolled into it. But other than that, they're the same socket. So, you know, you can't. The Williams is half the price of the Snap-on. It's the same warranty, same quality of socket. It just depends on who is in the neighborhood and who is actually handy at the time. We'll go ahead and get over into the drive drawer and the explanation. Some explanations into the drive drawer. Of course, just about all my ratchets are Snap-on. I believe in good drive tools. I think this is probably the oldest Snap-on ratchet I have, because as the 82 stuff came out, I traded them in. No, there's no fancy battery operated tack angle wrenches here. This is the 600 foot-pound 3/4 drive torque wrench handle. The rest of it is in the bottom drawer of this toolbox, split beam. This is a Precision Instruments 3/8 drive split beam, 100 foot-pounds. And then this is a Snap-on 1/2 inch drive, 250 micrometer type torque wrench. And this is the little inch-pound 3/8 drive little fella here. And the end of this video, I want to talk about some gimmick tools that seems to find their way in some people's toolboxes. And when I was a young guy, I fell for some of that crap. I ain't gonna lie. This is one of them. The Craftsman Robo Grip. It's cheap. Yeah, it's made in the USA. I think that's what it says. Yeah, made in the USA. Laminated construction. Made as cheap could get. Little ratcheting pawl deal in here, along with the handle. No, they're not channel locks, or they're not Knipex. I believe the Knipex version of that is probably 10 to 15 times better than what this garbage is. But that's one of those gimmick tools that Craftsman, that was one of their first gimmick tools. And I think this was probably when Craftsman started making the downhill slide. This is another one of those Versi fit wrenches, metric on one side, 22 millimeter to 32 millimeter multi wrench. You flip it over, and it's American Standard. from 13/16 to 1.25 inches. This stuff like this is stuff that'll get you in trouble. It's junk. It's not worth packing home, to be honest with you. This screams flea market all over it. It's exactly what this stuff does. This screams flea market. Here's another one of those deals. This is a Lowe's Cobalt ratcheting. Pretty neat little deal here. You turn the head of the ratchet and it turns the anvil in the ratchet. It's a 3/8 drive ratchet. Very big with all the mechanical workings inside of it. It's very big. Very comparable in size to a 1/2 inch drive ratchet. Another gimmick thing. I don't know, some people may like it, some people don't. I'm not a big fan. Sears actually got in a lawsuit with Logger. Logger had tools over this piece of laminated, constructed garbage. Too big, too bulky. About the only thing I do with it is slip it on the cat's tail and give him a squeeze every now and then. But, good idea, nice concept. At least it says made in the USA on it. You'll destroy your fasteners, get yourself in trouble. Another one of these last ditch efforts that put Craftsman in the downhill slope when they started putting stuff like this on the shelf. Guys that was actually die-hard craftsmen, they started seeing this stuff and looking at it from a professional's perspective and said, "Are you kidding me?" Does it work? Yeah, actually the ratcheting mechanism in it does work really well. It feels really nice. It's reversible. It's got all sizes in it, 5/16 to 3/4. And if I was a betting man, I would say that this was a joint venture with Ratchet Wrench and KD Tools. Well, as I can remember, Danaher Tool Company was part of Ratchet Wrench and Craftsman, and I believe Armstrong was in on that deal too. And now it's all went to another deal. Here's another one of these things that actually fits in my toolbox. This is a Proto flexible 3/8 drive extension. Can't put a whole lot of pressure on it, but it's pretty neat. You can put a magnetic surface drive socket on the end of it, put your bolt in the end of it, and fish it in some tight places. That's when you can actually fish it in some tight places and get the bolt started, or vice versa. You can get it broke loose and then get it taken out, maybe. One more quick Craftsman piece of garbage we have here is the adjustable socket wrench. How cool is that? That is a piece of junk if I've ever seen it. Guys, it's things like this right here that put Sears and Craftsman in deep shit. People started seeing this stuff show up on their stuff and says they're not aimed to the guy that wants to do quality work anymore. They're aiming more towards the homeowner. A little update on Big Bertha over here. I've been spending some time doing some fabrication work in here and actually revamped the drawbar. Quite a bit of fabrication work there. Actually used the original bar, but changed the supports up. There was some drilling and tapping, a lot of burning, a lot of welding, a lot of fitting to get this rig set up behind this tractor. Hopefully it helps us put it down the track a little further. Big Ugly is getting some updates this winter. Of course, you can see the injection pumps off of her. Next week the engine will be out of it because there is some parts I need to rob from it. And as you can see, the clutch is gone. The clutch is off getting freshened up. I am going to do another repower on this tractor. So it will be all fresh and new for the 2020 pulling season. And we might dress the old girl up and do a little paint job on her. She's got the fuel system out of her. The turbocharger's gone off of it. And it's all off, getting freshened up, updated. So we don't have issues in the 2020 pulling season. So if you like what you've seen in this video, hopefully my socket drawer to her again answered some questions. If you want to see more about the pull tractor, give her the old thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and we get into the engine build on this. I'll probably do step-by-step videos. I may even upgrade my camera equipment and audio, since I am still doing this with a cell phone. And we may do a time-lapse video of the paint, engine assembly, the engine build, and some of the fabrication work that's going to go on, and paint and final assembly. So if you like what you've seen, we like it. If you don't, thumbs down. Don't cost me a dime either way. Doesn't cost you a dime either way. You guys have a nice evening, and hope you have a nice week. And Monday is right around the corner. Hope you all have a nice Monday. Don't bellyache and groan. Be thankful that you can get up and go to work every day, because I can't, and I wish I could. Again, y'all have a nice evening, and hopefully we'll speak with you soon. Thanks.